Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and to a new video about meditation by some dude in his 20s, because there ain't enough of those out there. But I wanted to talk about meditation from a place where I've come from, and that is a non-spiritual, pragmatic, productivity, minimal kind of way of looking at things. And I used to think that meditation was a certain type of thing, and that certain type of thing wasn't for me, so I didn't look into it. But growing up, there were certain shows that I would watch, and there were characters in it that meditated for various reasons. And then when I was a teenager, I had a brief interest, well, I say brief, it was a bit longer than brief, interest in Buddhism, like some people do. And funnily enough, when I was a teenager, I thought, yeah, but I could never be vegetarian, and now I've been vegan for 6.5 years. Not necessarily going to become Buddhist, but I think they're cool. If you're like me and you're interested in productivity and self-improvement, but also self-care and mental well-being, I think that meditation really can help with all of those things, because it has so many benefits. And although it might be a little tricky at first for some people, myself included, over time you'll find that it's a habit worth building.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Wait.
Everybody just calm down!
Now, I am by no means an expert at meditation or with mental health, so if you are experiencing anxiety, depression, it might be better to talk to a medical professional. But even then, for you and for the rest of us, it's definitely a great idea to give meditation a go. There are a few types of meditation you may have seen or be familiar with, and although I don't think that there's one specific way to meditate, there's definitely some common themes throughout them. One of those is a focus on breathing. So a focus on intentional, calm, slow breathing to some regard is definitely a large part of meditation. And for me, sometimes my focus is entirely on the breath. If I know that I'm going to be distracted in my mind because I want to think about something, I may as well think about breathing, because then it actually benefits me physiologically during the meditation and afterwards. There's also an element of mindfulness to the meditation, just like with the breathing, but this is often talked about as calming the mind and clearing the mind. Now, it's very close to impossible to clear your mind of thoughts, but as soon as it starts to wander, to maybe think as a mantra, to come back to the breath or focus on your breathing. That's what I use, is the thought and the instruction when my mind starts to wander. Focus on your breathing, or come back to your breathing. Not to chastise yourself, not to punish yourself for doing something wrong. It's an attempt to continually try and minimize the swinging out, just to go a little bit over here, back to the center, a little bit over here, back to the center, like flowing water. Focus on the breathing, maybe listening to music. Obviously it would be best to have some calm music, something instrumental, something soothing, maybe even just the sounds of nature is often quite popular, a river or a field, something like that. It's good to experiment with different sounds, because if it helps you stay focused, then that will be good. A guided meditation might be useful for you, whether that's a guided meditation through relieving tension in your body, whether it is focusing on your breath or something else. It's quite useful if you're new to meditation. Instead of having to figure it out on your own, you actually have someone to guide you on that. Others are sometimes poetic in nature, chanting, some people chant out loud. You've heard the Om type thing, mantras, words of affirmation. Again, if they help you stay focused or calm, the repetitious nature of mantras can help you get in that state of focus. But it doesn't have to be all lotus pose and babbling brooks. You can do active meditation as well, and usually this will be something repetitive and physical. So it might be yoga, it might be, for me honestly, it was weightlifting and working out because it was just all my attention on one thing. And now when I exercise, I try and have that same level of focus and intention, which is harder than it can be some days. But it could also be just repetitious tasks. Anything you can make a meditation out of washing dishes and folding clothes. These things that are having 1,000 opportunities to do a small action a little bit more focused, a little bit better. That can be a way to transform maybe a mundane task that you know you're going to wander off from into something that's a chance to practice that focus. And with all these different versions, these different ways we can meditate, I think that it's useful to experiment and find what works for you. So there's lots of different factors that we can play with, which means that there's probably a form of meditation that's good for you, maybe even a few. So here's a couple things we can play with, a few variables we can play with. So as I described a minute ago, you can experiment with active meditation, and then depending on what that actually is, you can try the sitting still, cross-legged, eyes closed type meditations, trying guided, music, silent, focusing on a chant or just on your breathing. I'm going to get to what I do in a minute. But then also we can experiment with duration and frequency. For some people, 10 minutes might seem like a daunting amount of time to meditate. So going slow and building up to that, 2 minutes, later 5 minutes, 8, 9 minutes, and then 10. Some people meditate for 20, 30, an hour. Maybe in the morning works better for you, or in the evening, or both. What is your intention when you do those? Are you trying to get more focused? Are you trying to calm your mind, or both? They're related. You could also potentially meditate when you find yourself becoming stressed or distracted, as a way to re-center yourself, re-ground yourself. So these are the things that I actually do or play around with when I meditate. So I usually meditate for 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening. When I do it in the morning, I'm trying to gather my focus so that I can be more productive in the day, especially if I'm anxious about things that I have to do or things that are going on in my life, because I don't want those to throw me off doing things. And in the evening, it's usually the last thing I do after I've cleaned up and had a shower. I'm ready for bed. I do 10 minutes of meditation to, one, try and slow my heart rate and my breathing, and it can help me get to sleep a little faster. I have a lot of trouble getting to sleep. What I listen to when I meditate is sometimes music, maybe binaural beats, something instrumental, very, very sparse, and not very rhythmic. Very occasionally I've listened to the sounds of nature, but they sometimes distract me, and by that I mean that I'm playing them in headphones. But lately I've been doing it to just with no sound, and I do that for 10 minutes. While I'm doing this, I like to sit cross-legged. I close my eyes. I have my hands clasped together. It actually, my position, minus lotus pose, because I can't do it yet. My hand position is actually from Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I'll get to that in a minute. And while I'm in that pose, while I'm in that mindset, I focus mainly on my breathing, because my mind will race. And I do nasal breathing, and I do a few different things. So one of the things I try to do is intentionally relax my face and my breathing musculature, because I hold a lot of tension in my face, and when I breathe, I can feel all of that contracting. And the more I can relax my face and my neck and my chest, I'll breathe easier, deeper, especially when I'm going to sleep. It helps me sleep better, because then I'm less likely to have a constricted airway. And I will do nasal breathing for a while. Every time I would nasal breathe, I would sound like and it bothered me, because one, it was uncomfortable, and two, it was noisy, and three, it was not an effective way to breathe. But over time, I found that relaxing my face and neck, lowering my larynx, and just allowing that to come over time, it's almost like a stretch. And if you want to sort of jumpstart that stretch, you can actually do a vocal warm-up type exercise where you open your mouth like this. It's going to look weird. You open your mouth like this, and then you maybe get something. You can use 3 or 4 fingers, and you put that between your teeth, and you try and stretch your mouth open and lowering your larynx and stretching the soft palate, and maybe even doing some trills, almost some and stretching all of that back bit, because I find that opens up and it makes it easier to breathe, which is really helpful throughout the day when I'm doing vocal work and when I'm going to sleep, because I don't want to snore. The other breathing things I might do are to stay focused. I might do durational breathing, where I try my best to make my breaths as long as possible, and I will count them. I'll breathe in 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and I'll try and make those breaths as smooth, as deep as possible, and sometimes I get to 30, 45 seconds, maybe a minute at times. It's hard to know, because I always count time a little wrong. But that honestly is, while it's something that I have to focus on, it's a little bit difficult. It also means that I'm not distracted in my mind. So I'm giving myself a purposeful distraction, if that makes sense. And then the other thing that I might do occasionally is, I think it's called square breathing, which is basically you breathe in for, let's say, 3 counts. So hold for 3, breathe out for 3. And when I do it, I will usually increase that time as I go, maybe getting to 20, 30 beats or seconds. I think it's a little less important about the hold, but the in and out, and that's kind of to do with that durational breathing, is seeing, because you'll find that if you're not able to control your breath, you will not be able to breathe in and out that slowly. It's quite difficult, and that might be a result of tension. It might be a result of muscular laziness. You might not have a strong vocal musculature, and this is not necessarily so you can go and perform vocally, but you'll find that breathing really impacts everything. In a pinch, I might just meditate for 2 to 5 minutes, doing everything that I've just talked about, but that can just be a way to calm down. And this is something that I might do if something stressful comes up during the day, or I have some family kerfuffles going on at the moment, so occasionally you just need to chill out that way, instead of maybe reaching to something distracting on a device, or worse yet. I find, as I said, weightlifting and yoga quite meditative, because they're something I have to put all my focus into, but with yoga more so it's relaxing because you're stretching your muscles out, and with weightlifting there's this build up and release, and that's quite relaxing. And then the last thing I might do, which lasts about 10 minutes, I'm going to link it in the description, is a chakra meditation that someone made using bits from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And that's going to lead me into my last point. If nothing else, if these things are a bit odd for you, but you have a bit of a sense of imagination, you might want to try visualizing. And visualizing might be picturing yourself as you meditate, picturing yourself meditating on a beach or in a forest or something like that. But for me, who was I'm an actor now, so always a bit keen to play pretend in some regard, I imitate some fictional characters from shows that I quite enjoyed. And I don't mean that I dress up or do anything that differently, but take on something from them. So as I said, the posture that I take when I meditate is from Avatar: The Last Airbender. The hand position is the one that Aang does. I tried the one with the fists together, and I found it just a little bit too, something that I had to focus on a little bit too much. So I went back to the other one. Characters that I loved in Dragon Ball Z meditated a lot, especially Piccolo, and even Samurai Jack. So there was some seed planted there that made me think, oh, that's cool. And as I said earlier, when I was a teenager, I went through this phase of being really interested in Buddhism, and thinking that I would become a Buddhist later in life. And it's still very fascinating to me, but here we are. So in conclusion, I would highly recommend that you try meditating, especially if you try it small and build up. Do 2 minutes, do a guided one, do it poorly so that you can just try it out, because it's a habit and it's going to feel a bit uncomfortable at first. And that's actually the whole point, is that you think that you can't clear your mind. You're not really supposed to. It's about being aware of that, a bit of focus, a bit of relaxation, and finding what's right for you. But I would recommend doing it. There's a reason that highly successful and highly content people meditate and meditate often. So check that out. I'm going to put a link in the description to the Avatar chakra meditation that I like, as well as a video by Jack's Blade that I quite like, that sort of relates to that fictional character visualization type thing, which was a bit of an inspiration for this video, though I watched it a long time ago. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment, like all those YouTube things. Leave a comment if you have any experiences with meditation, anything different to me, any suggestions for yourself, me, or others, and if there's anything you'd like to see next. So I will talk to you again soon. I was about to say namaste. Anyway, take care. See you later.